Okay guys, in this video we're going to talk about fitting suits and auto fitting. And I want to switch this avatar and add a new one and then automatically fit the clothes on the new avatar. To start, delete this avatar and then go to the file menu and select import obj and open the avatar I've provided here. Make sure to disable this option because we want to create it, and scale to millimeter and then hit OK. Okay, as you can see here, I've entered its size incorrectly. So I want to go ahead and set the size to centimeter for this one. Now, as you can see here, the avatar is a bit outside the clothing. And let me change the avatar colors so it's easier on the eye. Okay, now we see that the clothes are not quite placed right on the avatar. If you select the target wrapping tool, you get an error. And this just means we don't have the avatar fitting suit for this avatar. And so we need to create it manually. Even if you try it auto fitting, you still get error. Now, if I click on the creating fitting suit tool, a window will pop up showing just the avatar, and it will ask you to set the parameters for it. And the first one is related to the top of the neck, which you can do with 3 clicks. Okay, and the next one is for the bottom of the neck. Click, click, and click here. And for the waist, just repeat the process and continue all the way to the lowest point. And for the elbow, okay, and the shoulder, and make sure to do everything on the left side. Okay, the upper thigh. Click here, and click here. And after that, for the knee and for the ankle. Once you're done, click apply so these red garments get created. Then click on save button and save it as a new avatar. Okay. Now click cancel, and I want to reopen the project we were working on earlier. Okay, oh sorry. Okay, and delete this avatar, and from the file menu go to open avatar and to open the new avatar. Now if you enable show avatar fitting suit, you can see the mesh structure right here. Okay, and select the patterns and set them to 20. If you select the retarget wrapping tool, you can see that these garments fit the avatar pretty easily. Now use auto fitting tool to adjust the pattern to the avatar. Okay. Okay, just you need to manually adjust these patterns. Okay, this one and this one. Go up. And then press the spacebar. As you can see here, the garment fits the avatar like this with no issue. And now small issues like this should be fixed. And these issues happened when we made the red garment, and we should have addressed them back then. Okay, now set the particle distance for the patterns to 5 and hit the spacebar to simulate it. Okay, if you take a close look, you can see there are no significant issues anymore. Now you can save this garment separately. Okay guys, how's it going? In this project, we're going to create a t-shirt together, and throughout this example, we will explore different tools and so you can get a better feel for what each one does. Also, as you can see here, I've placed some of the most commonly used shortcuts right here. And in this way, you can access them easily and get familiar with how they work. Now, let's start. Place this image in one of your folder and you can download it. Okay, open Marvelous Designer and go to the File menu and import the avatar. And here, specify the setup and make sure to turn on the arrangement point. And once that's done, click on OK. Let's customize the look a little, change the colors like this, and adjust the background the same way. And for a better view, set the camera to 50. And if you're wondering where the grid is, just press F12 on your keyboard to make it visible and show to the grid. Alright, now let's add the pattern. Double click on this image and set its size to 300 and place it on the avatar's body to check if the size fits. Try 500 if needed, just make sure it's the right size and that the opacity is set to 100. Now press F12 again to hide the grid so you can see the image more clearly. Next, set up your layer here and name it Med and use the default for preset, and for better visibility, undock the pattern shape window. Now let's start drawing. Select this polygon and click on one window right here and sketch out your pattern like this. Click here, one here, 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 and here. Once it's created, make sure the translucency settings is on so you can see what's underneath. Okay, using the edit pattern and edit curve points option, and head over to this section. And here, define a viewpoint like this and curve the area with just the points like this. And here, one here, one here, and one in here and here. Okay, as you can see here, we're starting to shape things up nicely. Okay, now press S on your keyboard or select it directly from here, and let's start by drawing a rectangle like this. Repeat the same step here like this and select transform pattern to copy and paste it. Now draw this pattern using a combination of both the rectangle and polygon tool. And see how this pattern has a few key points. And one here, and here, just like before, and here. At first, just sketch simply, and this will make editing much easier later on. Okay, and this point here, and point here, adjust it a little like here. Okay, for the back fabric, press A on your keyboard to select it or transform pattern, and then copy and paste it right here. Now select edit pattern, but wait, you actually need to use transform pattern first to adjust it here. Move it slightly to the left, and using edit pattern tool, adjust your fabric shape here and here. Then select edit curve to feel more refinement, like here and here. And the last one here. Now let's create the neckline using the polygon tool, like this. Bring it down a bit here. Okay, here. Okay. To turn a point with a curve, just do this. Same things here. Okay. With the polygon tool, create a shape like this and a bit higher. Okay. And this point. Okay. All right. Now reset the background image. Right click and edit background image and reset. Okay. And press F12 to show the grids. Okay. If I look closely, I might have missed something. Bring the image back and select it here. 500. Place it here and 100 for opacity and click OK. Notice this internal line here, and you can create it from this tool like this. And as you can see here, it's now in place like this. Now delete the back image and click reset. Next, select the internal lines and click cut and sew to separate it. Then bring it up a little bit. Okay. Then right click on this line and select unfold with symmetric. This means that if you modify one side, the other side will update automatically. Apply this to this section as well. Okay. And for this one, great. Now the patterns are complete. Select these two patterns and right click on it and choose symmetric patterns and place it here. Okay, click on two windows for a better view. Now, if you go back, you can see that these patterns don't match to the 2D window layout. To fix this, click on the 4-patch icon and select Reset 2D, and this will align everything correctly. Next, let's position the clothes properly using the arrangement point, or press Shift F to bring them closer to the avatar for easier simulation. Adjust their placement here like this. And set the neckline at the back of the neck and lower part of it slightly using this slider, and set the other part a bit higher than before. Now position the sleeve around the arm and do the same for the other one and bring this one a little higher. All right, now deactivate these two parts so they don't interfere with the simulation. From the 3D window, select segment swing and start connecting the parts together. Pay attention to the bottom section. One side needs to connect to two smaller sections. So select the larger piece, hold Shift and click on both of the smaller ones. Repeat the same process here. Now connect this part to this part and this part. Okay. Now press the spacebar. Oh, forgot this section, and just undo and reconnect it here. And continue connecting the remaining section, including this lower area like this. As you can see, this part and this part and this part and this part. Now let's check this terrain. Press spacebar and this part. Okay, now let's check this terrain. It look a bit tight, right? Select all of this and increase this section slightly. Okay, and press spacebar again. And this will loosen the t-shirt a bit, making it more fit naturally. As you can see here, it's shaping up nicely. Okay, make a few final touches and you're good to go. Okay. As you can see here, right click on the collar to activate it, just like this. Now adjust it to get the best angle for sewing. To do this, first make a copy of these patterns by duplicating it once. Position it right in front of the previous part. Go ahead and delete the previous sewing for this section. Notice how the left side automatically gets removed as well. Now unlink these two parts, remove link, so they remain independent. Next, connect these parts from here to here and attach it using free sewing. Okay, like this. Deactivate this and press the spacebar and see how the pattern separates. Now reactivate using Ctrl and J, and if you want to connect one part to multiple sections, hold Shift and select the additional parts like this and this manually, and connect this part to this part. Okay, press the spacebar. If you happen to miss a step, just repeat the process and select this and delete it. Now connect this part from here to here, this one from here to here, and don't forget the sleeve section along with this part. Okay, as you can see here, this pattern belongs to this section. And press the spacebar to simulate. Now make sure the collar is correctly positioned. Double check this area to see if it still feels tight. And activate the other collar with just 2 quick clicks. Connect them together. And hit spacebar to set it in place. For the collar to sit properly on the shoulder, create an internal line along this edge. Right click and select internal line. Since the extended option is activated, the line is automatically created. Increase the value by 1 millimeter. Okay, and click OK to apply the changes. Okay, now in the 3D window, select the arrow fold angle and click on the internal line and rotate it slightly. And adjust the fold value to be above 180 so the color curves outward. Hit the spacebar to finalize the adjustment and slightly enlarge this section again. And press the spacebar to fitting that t-shirt. Okay. And manually adjust this area as needed. Okay, just like this. Now let's establish a connection between these two parts. Select these two edges here, here, and here. Okay. and enter 7 as the value and create the line. Okay, sew them together with press N and hit the spacebar. Okay, take a look at the result. Okay, now create a new layer. Let's name it heart and assign the correct preset to it. Trim hardware. Now move the color and patterns to this layer. Okay, hit the spacebar and check that they're now stiffer. To smooth out this section and avoid any issues, let's edit here. Okay, we're gonna talk about the Styline tool and select the first option and make adjustment directly from the 3D window. And any changes will also apply in the 2D window, as you can see here. And modify different areas, as you can see here. And it is also applied in the 2D window. Okay, for example, draw a circle on the sleeve section to separate these areas. For example, you can draw a circle on the sleeve section right here to separate these areas. Okay, let's undo this. Okay. Okay, if this pattern need to be stiffer, instead of creating a new layer, simply select the pattern and go to the bond menu and check bond, and you can see the color change. That's an indicator of the stiffness adjustment for bond, and use these settings to gradually increase the stiffness. For example, select a stiffer setting and hit a spacebar, and you can change the preset, something like this one, and if you hit a spacebar you can see the difference. Even the lower pattern can be set to bond and with the previous preset, and hit the spacebar and make sure the fabric is stiffened correctly. If you want to hide or show this color effect, you can adjust it in this section. Okay, to create a pocket, use the internal rectangle tool to define the pocket area. Okay, for example, draw it symmetrically on both sides like this. You can see the both side has created. And with the X key on your keyboard, place a point on this line, then lower it slightly. And as you can see, right click on it. Okay, right click on it and clone as pattern and move it in an empty space. Okay, connect this part to this section, and in the 3D window, right click on it and select the superimpose over and check that it is positioned correctly without needing simulation and with minimal effort, and assign it the mid layer and hit the spacebar. Okay, now watch as the pocket gets simulated correctly. To add seam taping, select these 4 segments and apply seam taping right here, and you're all set. Okay, and this works similarly to bond, but specifically for this segment with a set the width and adjust the value as needed and hit the space. Okay, see how the edges become slightly stiffer, and now let's hide the internal lines right here. Until the final step, keep the link active. Okay, until the final step, keep the link active. And if you need to delete one side independently, just simply you can right click on this pattern and remove link editing. Now delete the left pocket and repeat this process for the back section and repeat this process for these two parts as well. Okay, for now leave this section as it is, and next select the all patterns and set particle distance to 10 and hit the spacebar. Okay, hide bond to keep the workspace clear, and now gently pull these areas outward just like this, and little adjustment here. Okay, take a moment to check everything and make sure there are no mistakes. Okay, to shorten the back fabric, slightly reduce the weft here. Okay, and apply the same adjustment to this section. Okay, press space, and I think the warp is need to readjustment as okay, as you can see here. And rather than modifying the pattern dimension directly, try adjusting warp and weft first and reduce this value slightly and lower it a bit more. And you can see this method doesn't always work well in certain areas. Okay, go back to 100 and reset to original state. And okay, for a manual length adjustment, select all these points right here, okay, and move them slightly to the left without releasing, and right click to open the options menu and enter the exact value. Now repeat the same process on the opposite side and hit space. Okay, take a look at the improved shape. To shorten this pattern, click on its points here, in here, okay, and in the 2D window you can see a blue point. Okay, move it down slightly. Now do the same on the other side and hit the space, and if it still needs a bit more refinement, make a small adjustment as needed. For a much stiffer fabric, right click on it and click use strengthen right here and hit spacebar. Okay, you can see the fabric turned rigid with a glossy orange effect. Now let's move on to the next section. Okay guys, let's use the fold angle tool. Click on these segments of the garments right in these two areas, right click and choose internal line. Enter the number 1 7 times, then OK. Now set all values to 175. For the outer parts, set them to 240 and hit the spacebar. And you can see the indentation goes beyond 180. Increase the intensity and set it to 10 and hit the spacebar. Take a look at the line that's been created. All right. Let me expand this window. Now let's create a new layer for this part. Name it Hard Ultra. Okay. And set the preset to trim full grain. Okay, zoom here and go ahead and create a pattern here as a ID card in this section. Select a smooth curve. Drag it slightly, then right click while holding down the left click. Lock line 1 and line 2 and enter the number to 10. Do this for the other 3 corners as well. Let me adjust it in 3D window and slightly reduce its size like this. as you can see, a bit more. Set the particle distance to 10 and look at the breakage or reduce it further. And set it to 5 for a smoother look. Okay. Select the layer, go down and adjust the thickness to 2. And I need to have a sharp edges, so I select this garment under the curvature, set the value to 20 to sharpen the edges. As you can see here. Now let's attach the card to the pocket, but without any sewing. Alright, go here and use the small pin called tag. Detach this window. Select it. Assign 2 connection points. Take a look at the connection. Let me select it. If the line isn't selectable, just select the point instead. And the pattern distance option is the only one available, and it determines the spacing. It is easier to make your selection from the 2D window, and you can use tag on avatar to attach it to the avatar. Instead of a point, you can also attach it as a line if needed, or you can attach the line to the avatar directly. Okay, let me close this window. Now move the card closer to the pocket and hit the spacebar. Notice how the card sticks to the pocket easily. Hit the spacebar again. See how smoothly attached to the pocket. Okay. Select the layer and set it type to plastic. Change the color a little for a more plastic-like effect, as you can see here, and you can reduce the size if necessary. Waiting for autosave. Now let me apply a texture. For example, go here and select graphic tool here. Select the image from here. Place it in position with this dimension and adjust its size to 120 or 140, and you can manually position it or center it. Okay. All right, take a look at how it displays the ID card. Adjust its position if you need. Okay. And let me zoom here in 3D window and set the color to white to avoid blending issues. Okay, select the image and set it type to plastic for that glossy effect, as you can see here. Next, let's choose normal map. For example, apply this texture. Let me zoom and increase the intensity. Notice the texture that gets generated. Now the ID card is added like this. All right. Okay, let's talk about the steam. Let me zoom here. You may notice some wrinkles here. Okay, hit the F key to zoom in and use the steam tool that you can see here. Adjust the steam from -100 to +100. And with the default size and hardness, click and drag here and for the sleeve and hit the spacebar. Watch as the fabric tightens. Let me increase the steam level for a stronger effect. You can see the difference. To remove it, just right click and select remove all steam. And let me close this window, or right click here and choose remove all steam again. Okay, hit the spacebar to reset. Go here and select the color. All right, let's focus on this part. And let's create a binding strip. Select the binding tool in 3D window and create a strip from here to here. If it is gone, simply click and go ahead and double click. Okay, go here and choose the side for placement. Select the lower side. Take a look at the strip that is being generated. Okay, let me create a new layer and go down and use the default preset and name it binding. Set the color to black. Okay, and set the normal texture to 12 and use select bonding to assign it to the layer. Okay, observe the result. As you can see, without any sewing or creating any garment. Let me specify the width, set it to 5 and slightly reduce the length if needed to have tightened fabric. For example, set it to 70 for a better fit if necessary. Okay, let me undo. Let me zoom here and adjust collision distance. Set it to 1 millimeter for a closer alignment as 1 millimeter. Let me hit the spacebar and see how it positions perfectly. Okay, it looks like this. Zoom in on this part and observe the seam with normal textures applied. So it looks like this. Now let's add a button and buttonhole. Okay, place a button right here and place the buttonhole here. Okay, use the fasten tool to lock them together. As you can see here. All right, hit the spacebar. Notice how they attach perfectly. From the window menu, open the button window and access the button panel. Okay, let's change this. For example, select a button like this. To place the buttonhole, open the corresponding window. Select its layer. For example, select this one. When you select this buttonhole here, you can rotate it 90 degrees. So it looks like this. Now consider making this size a bit larger too, like this, as you can see. And this is how simple part is. All right, now select these two and move them down. Here, take a copy of the button and place it higher. And take a copy of this one and place it here too. Okay, this will stay open and everything will be fine. All right, in this step, I'm going to move to the final stage and I want to add all the little details to this garment. Set all patterns to 5 and hit the spacebar. Now I want to increase the wrinkles a bit more than what you see right now. Okay, go here and increase the shrinkage warp a bit to create more wrinkles. Now repeat the same process for the front pattern. Now we have a few more wrinkles in these patterns, as you can see here. All right, let's add some depth to this part. Right click on it and select the layer clone over option. You can see it places a pattern exactly like this one. Wherever there's a segment or an internal lines, it automatically sewn them together. Okay, hit the spacebar. You can see there is some interference between these parts. So select the upper color and click on the over option. Sorry, let me undo. If you select the under this time, check the normals of the color first. You can see that its back is facing this way. So you need to set it under. You can see that this doesn't work for me here. Let me freeze this part and freeze this part as well, so you can access it from here. And it won't interfere with the simulation. Hit the spacebar. Notice how these patterns have come and interfered with this part. If you hit Shift and Q, you can see that the patterns interferes here. Okay, so unfreeze this part. Now pay attention to see that there is interference here. Wait a moment while the simulation is on, and this issue resolve itself. Okay, now select both colors from the 2D window and hit Shift and Q. You can see the color rise just like it would in real life. You can repeat this process for this part as well. Select layer clone over, and you can see it quickly sews and place it correctly. Now unfreeze it and unfreeze the first part too. Hit the spacebar. You can see it looks like this. You can do the same for this part as well. And hit the spacebar. Now you can easily move these two, as you can see, to this top pattern. And no issues here. Alright, I want to increase the thickness of these patterns from this window to give it a bit more thickness. Here, let me zoom, as you can see, in this area. Alright, one more thing you need to do. If you select the seam with the B key, you can see the intensity here, which you can set to 0, set the thickness to 0 as well. Now you can see that we won't have the seam here, and do the same for this part and set these two values to 0, so the normal maps relate to it becomes 0. Now it looks like we have a smooth fabric. Zoom out the pattern, and now let's add a texture. In the fabric window, if you select this pattern, you can see which layers they correspond to. You can load fabric and also using these parameters. You can create a fabric for yourself and save it. Now for this, you can add a new texture. Click the small window. From the folder I provide, select the desired texture. For base color, for normals, you can put normal map here. And the displacement map, this one. This texture is for displacement map, and you can select roughness. And as you know, select these for it. Okay, Here, increase the intensity of the normals, as you can see here. If you select this layer and hit T on your keyboard, then click on one of these patterns, you can either move single maps, or you can rotate all maps here with this tool, or you can scale them like this, as you can see here. Or I can click the open button here or click save. If I click open, I can select the fabric saved earlier and open it. You can see all the maps here, and you can see have quicker access. The reason these inner parts are visible here is the opacity map that's visible here. I can delete this map so it won't show up here. You can also load the hard part, so it looks like this, and delete the opacity map. The hard ultra fabric relates to this will look like this. Okay, let me go back to the button window, and I can resize this value a bit, like this. Okay, and increase the buttonhole size like this. Set it to 23. As you can see, it now looks like this. Now in the final stage, go to window menu and open the UV editor. From here, arrange the UVs. If I right click and click reset, you can see it's similar to the 2D window. Or click on fit, so it's fit in a square. If you place the buttons and binding here inside this area and select the fit again, so it fits better here. I can manually adjust them, something like that. Select the patterns and make them a bit larger, so you can have UVs here. You can see different map here and check what's in them. From here, you can bake this texture, indicate what you need, give it an address from here, and set the value for how it should export this. And finally, save it, so you can use them for rendering in other software. Okay guys, in this section, let's give your avatar some movement and make it walk here and animate it. To do this, head over to the Mixamo website, log in here, click on Browse Animations. Upload your character right here, and you can click and drag it like this. Then just wait a moment for loading. Now, this section will ask you to auto rigging. Okay, place the circle on the chain following this pattern, put it here, this part, and this one, and this one. Okay, click next. Now, as you can see, a test will pop up here, and click on next, next. Now, in the top left section, type walking in the search bar. And I want to select the simple walk here. For example, choose this one and click in place to make it walk in place. And I want to slightly close its hand here, making it tighter like this, or I can widen the hand here So it works like this. Okay, I can also view the frame here. So adjust it in full frame mode so there is no gap between the steps. As you can see here. Now I want to download this animation. Download it as FBX. Click download here and wait for it to finish downloading. Once the download is complete, it will be saved in your download folder. Okay, go to Marvelous Designer and delete this avatar. Then from the file menu, select import and FBX, opening the walking animation for yourself. And make sure these three boxes are checked. Now you can see the avatar's pose has changed here. Select all the patterns and apply them to the new avatar. Like this. Okay, also adjust this part of the hand here for it. And this part. Alright. Then click on simulation button. Okay, after clouds are placed properly on this avatar, open the animation from the center of the screen and check that the animation has loaded correctly. Now you can click the record option and simulate it in normal mode. Now, as you can see, these parts are affected quite a bit, and you can see here that it's moving like this. Let me undo to delete the animation. This time, try it in animation mode. Record it and wait for the process to finish. Now, as you can see, if you hit the play button once in these sections, bring it to the start and hit the play again, you can see that these parts are much more stable right now. Now you can hide the avatar. So go ahead and hit the play again. Let me bring it to a start. You can see it is much more stable right now. And now select these garments and export it as Alembic right here. Animation and save it. Uncheck Unify and make sure it is thick. Set it to -centimeter and click entire region and click OK. Okay, open Blender. From the import menu, you can load it here. Alembic. As you can see, the t-shirt will load here. Let me find it. Okay, hit the spacebar and you can see the animation loading. Okay guys, in this video we're going to dive into the topic of topology. If I show you the topology of this garment, you can see it's set to triangle by default. Now select the patterns and take a look at it's set to triangle right here. So where is the type of the mesh most commonly used? It's used in a simulation like Marvelous Designer because the dimensions of the faces are almost identical. If you take a closer look at any part of it, you can see that they are nearly equal. However, this topology isn't great for editing in other software like 3ds Max or Blender or Maya. Notice how each point has multiple edges connected to it and with 5 or 6 edges attached. And if you try to follow a loop, it's almost impossible. And making it any edit is quite difficult. Even in software like ZBrush, use this topology can cause some issues. The next thing we'll check is that we can change it using the property editor window, or you can right click on the pattern in the 3D window and select your desired topology from the mesh style option. Here I want to choose quad optimize. As you can see here, the topology is now set to a square. And notice how it is applied randomly. And you can see that the square here doesn't match the size of the square here. And this randomness also show up in other areas. Now let's zoom into the neck patterns, and you can see that its topology is a little disorganized. If I add internal lines between these edges, you can see I can control it to some extent. If I add another line here, it will improve things a lot compared to the before. And I can apply the same method to the center of this pattern, for example. And you can see I can control it here as well, like this. And we need to keep an eye on these details if you want to edit this garment in other software. So understanding is really useful. Now let's delete these lines and these 2 lines as well. Next, let's try quad grid. Look how neat and organized it is. Now, if I enable the meshes in the 2D window, you can see they are neatly arranged. But if I zoom in and take a closer look, you can see there are triangular face here, and just like you can see here. And as I mentioned, this topology might not be the best fit for us. And how is this topology created? We can see these lines, which we'll call the grid, are projected onto the existing pattern. It runs parallel to grid lines. If I change the angle of the pattern and then select quad grid again, you can see it aligned with the grid. Okay, now let's move on to the retopology tool, which is a new and very useful tool added in a previous version of Marvelous Designer. Okay, if I undock the tool set here, the first tool lets you select a retopology you've already created, but we don't have one for now. Now we want to create a square on the pattern with a just few clicks using create topology. And here you need to create a clothesline, and it can only be quad or triangular. Okay, and you can modify this square using this tool, and notice that a point shows up here indicating how far the main point extended. Okay, now right click and select add division, and you can see the number of faces increase. If you repeat this, it will keep increasing. And you can also manually add a face here, just like you can see here. I'm not showing the exact topology for the t-shirt here, but if you make a mistake, you can press the backspace key to undo it. And you can make adjustments here and continue building the new topology just like this. And you can see that I had to create a uh, closed topology here. If the tool doesn't allow this, you can turn it into triangular instead. And once again, I'm not showing the perfect topology here, but I'm trying to demonstrate how to build a t-shirt topology. Now connect these points to this edge and delete this edge so that both sides match. If you select the create topology tool and hold Ctrl and Shift, you can create an edge loop here, and you can also apply this to this area or add more topology to all of them by clicking add all division. Notice how the lines doubled here. And if we accept it, right click and select convert all. This will convert them into a pattern. Now to avoid interference, I want to delete these topologies and move the patterns and place this next to the original pattern so you can compare them easily. Okay, pay attention, and now you can compare the line density with what we have before. And the density in this pattern compared to the first one, and make the wrinkles much finer here. And depending on what we need in Marvelous Designer, we might want to use this pattern, and it can be really helpful. Now that we're familiar with this tool, it might come in handy and simplify our work, so we can use it in our project. Lastly, I forgot to explain the patch tool. In this window, if I set the number to 4 right here, you can see it shows me 4 edges. If I complete the square, you can select any edge to adjust the number of faces. For example, if you select this edge, you can see you can control it. Now click on create, then select the edit tool to view it in 3D mode. And you can see it here. Click division to convert it into a pattern. Now move the pattern to view it more clearly. As you can see here, we have simpler details right here. Okay guys, in this video, we will learn all about the sculpt window. Click on this drop down and select a sculpt to easily enter the sculpting window. And as you can see, there is no color and texture here. It's just showing as a plain surface. Hold down the B key on your keyboard to access this window where you can find all the brushes and their settings, and you can also check them out in the left corner. And select the wrinkle brush and adjust the size here, and you can control its intensity using this option. Okay, now click and drag on the fabric to create some wrinkle, and you can reduce the size and focal length a bit and increase the realistic effect for a more natural look. For example, apply it to these areas and here to get more wrinkles. As you can see here, the release tool will loosen the fabric slightly, allowing it to adjust more freely. If I bigger size, if you select this area, it will look like a stiffer fabric is being used. And this tool also performs a sculpting function, just like the standard brush in ZBrush. And you can strengthen the wrinkle here. Hold down the Shift key to smooth things out. Try using this tool here. And with the grab tool, you can perform a move operation. If you apply this aggressively, the form will change and become more visible. With this stamp tool, notice that the image option by default contains 5 alpha images. For example, select this one and then click and drag to apply it to the fabric. You can try other alphas too and drag them into the fabric. And this effect of alpha and window really depends on the particle distance settings. To import your own custom alpha, simply use this plus icon. With the pinch tool, you can compress the areas you want by bringing the points closer together. Once you're happy with the fabric, return to the 3D window to see the changes you made. As you can see here, you can see your adjustment reflected. And if I hit the spacebar, at this point, this should only be the last step you do because the all changes disappeared after simulating. Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to guide you through the process of importing this garment into Substance Painter and explain the workflow step by step. After that, we will export the result and bring it back into Marvelous Designer to check how it looks and achieve better texturing. First thing first, we need to check the direction of normals to make sure they are placed correctly. As you can see, my normals are good to go, and since just be texturing this garment and bring it back to Marvelous Designer and my destination is rendering, so set the particle distance to around 2, as you can see here, and this will help me capture finer details like these ones here, as you can see, the density, and which will result in a higher quality texture like this one. Okay, next we need to check the UVs, and the patterns should be arranged in this square to make the best uses of the available space. The larger the pattern, the better the final quality will be. Assign everything to just one layer to keep things simple. Now let's jump back into the 2D window, select these patterns, and from File, OBJ selected. Okay, name the file t-shirt. And in the window that pops up, the first option will let me choose which patterns to include. And I don't need the avatar or any related object. And since I want to bring this garment back into Marvelous Designer, so I want to export as thin, not thick. And it doesn't matter whether I choose weld or unweld, but enable unified here because UV is really important for me right here. Okay, leave the rest of settings as they are and move on to the Substance Painter. Okay, let's open Substance Painter. If your interface doesn't look like mine, don't worry, just go to the Windows menu and select Reset UI to get back to the default layout. Go ahead and close a couple of extra windows for a cleaner space. And you can see that the window is accessible from here. And on the right side, I have these 3 windows set up, which I need to keep for now. And from the file menu, click New to import the OBJ. Click Select and select the file I exported and set it to 4K and DirectX. and I will leave the rest of this setting as is, then click OK. The t-shirt will now open in the Substance, and you can see that the layer we created for the t-shirt in Marvelous Designer has been imported, and there's also a default layer which I delete right here. Okay, before we get started, let me show you how to navigate this window. And by holding the Alt key and the middle mouse button to pan, and Alt plus left mouse button to rotate, and Shift and right mouse button to adjust the light angle in the scene. Okay, now click on the small monitor icon to access the scene settings, and the environment light for the scene can be adjusted right here, and I prefer this environment light since it adds more contrast right here. Also set the focal length to 20 to reduce the perspective a bit, and click on the small sphere icon for shader settings here, and then check double-sided to view the garment from both sides right here. Okay. And by hitting F2 to view only the 3D window, and F3 for the UV window, and F1 to see both. For now, keep it on just the 3D view. Before we dive into texturing, we need to do the baking process. Clicking on the baking option opens a window with various options and settings. If you're curious about how it works, you can look it up online or in YouTube, but this tutorial isn't meant to explain the theory of baking in detail. And to keep it simple, just remember a few points. Select the main layer and set the output size to 4K and scroll down and set anti-aliasing to 64x for higher precision. And I don't need the ID, position or thickness layer, so I leave those unchecked. Now click bake selected. Okay, since I'm using an high poly garment and not a low poly one, I don't need to load the high poly model because this already has the high poly data. Let's go and click on baking. Okay, let's go back to the 3D view now. And after baking, what option do we have? If I click on curvature and view its map, you can see that it is detected the corner and calculate the data based on the UV and model. And these maps are what we can use to enhance our texture. If I check the normals, you can notice there is no data since I didn't use the high poly model. And base color, the map is empty right now. And let's explore how these maps helps us. If I drag a smart material right here into the layer window, you can see it detects this area right here. And if drag another material and something like this, the areas turns slightly darker, and this is all thanks to the baking process. Okay, let's get started with texturing first. Group the layers. Click the group button to create a folder and name it sleeves, as I want to assign the sleeves to this folder. And then add a fill layer. By right-clicking on the scene, I can access its settings right here. And this menu is same as what we see here, but I like to keep it close for more spaces. And you can always right-click again to open it up. Change the color to make the sleeve easier to identify. Then right-click on the sleeve folder and add a black mask to it. And this will allows me to apply the color specifically to the sleeves. To select them, click on polygon fill in the left corner right here, and then I can select the sleeves based on the UV. Next, create another folder and repeat the same process for the rest of the garment. Changing color and adding black mask and select it. Okay. Now I know exactly which folder and layer correspond to each part. For the sleeves, open the asset window and search for the fabric and drag that material into the sleeve folder. Remove the guide layer and I can see the tiling is not correct right here. So adjust the tiling to 4 since it's too big. And okay, 4 is good right now. Change the color to something like blue. For example, this one is good. Okay, looks great. And slightly enlarge the texture. I think 3 is good now. And okay, copy this layer and place it into the body folder, then delete the guide layer and change the color to something like gray. Okay, look like this. Okay, now let's add some stitching here. And okay, click on the brush tool right here. And while the layer is selected, go to the asset window and search for a stitch and select this brush. And the last one is top stitching. The relevant settings will open up for me and switch to paint along path tool. And I can start the stitching in the 3D view. Just remember, you can do this in only 3D view. Okay, by using the close path option, I can create a close path here and adjust the line manually. If I click on the eye icon, the blue lines will disappear and I can right click to access the settings. Reduce the size a little and choose the normal option right here. And turning off the height will give me a clearer view of the stitching. And I can adjust the color and reduce the roughness to make it something like this. And you can select from different stitching type here, and decorative, satin, and something like this. But for now, go with the classic option and adjust the thickness right here. And after that, set the puckering to leather and reduce it intensity right here. And adjust other parameters like lowering the height to make it less pronounced, and decreasing the size, the first option, and changing the color to something darker. If I turn off the color option, you can see that the stitching will no longer have any color. Go with a dark blue and getting closer to black for a better look. Okay, something like this. I think it's okay. Next, I want to add some text like a logo right here. Okay, add a fill layer here and apply a black mask to it so the garment is completely masked. as you can see. Okay, right click on the mask and select add fill, then right click on the scene, then select grayscale to add an alpha brush. I found a font I like and added it to the garment. Okay, write the text that you want and adjust the settings below, right here, advanced setting, and set the repeat to none. Let's explain something. Go back to the UV and decrease the size. Now you can see the repeat option and you can set it to none for non-repeating and adjust the size, something like here. Okay, zoom in to see the logo better, and right here. Yes, I think it is okay right now. Or you can set it position in the front or back, exactly in the center, and click this layer, and by right click you can set its color to black or white and make it a bit more matte to reduce the shine. And I can also make the text embossed or negative to create a more engraved look, something like this. Set the height to 0.1 and so the text is slightly raised. Okay, for removing the texture from the text, by selecting the height option and changing the blending mode to normal, the garment's texture won't affect the text since the garment was exported as 10. As you can see here, you can see it because the garment was exported as a 10. Okay, it is time to export the texture and bring them back into Marvelous Designer. Go to File, Export Textures, and set the output path. And okay, and choose PBR and select the texture maps I need. In the output template, disable metallic and emissive since I don't need them. And in the global settings, set it to PNG 60-bit 4K and click export. Back in Marvelous Designer, load the texture by selecting the t-shirt layer and start with the base color. Okay. Then add the normal map. Okay, the displace map. And finally the rough map. Okay, right here. And make sure the texture mapping is set to unified so that the texture match the UV. Okay, this is the repeat one, and make sure unify is selected and increase the normal intensity and zoom in to see the texture more clearly. Okay. As you can see here, the texturing we did based on this UV is visible here too.